Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Debbie. I am a money coach, and today I am excited to bring you my first ever budget recap. I want to talk to you about our money wins so far for this year and the money loss that we had last week. Like, can you tell? I'm still like in it. I'm like, yes, but it's something that we learned from so that we can plan ahead and try to avoid it the next time. So I can't wait to share these with you. When it comes to your budget, I truly believe that you should take just a few minutes before the beginning of each month so that you can plan for the expenses that you have for that entire month. Because every month's budget is going to be a little bit different, right? Like there are special occasions, birthdays, anniversaries, or just holidays that you should really plan for ahead of time. A perfect example are the last few months, right? May was Mother's Day. June, of course, is Father's Day. July is the 4th of July. The weather starts getting nicer. People want to go outside, do any kind of outside activity. For us, I love to grill. So I plan ahead because I know that my grocery budget in July and August is going to be a little bit higher than it is for the entire rest of the year because I like to grill and I like to have good quality ground beef. So I stock up throughout the year. I plan ahead so that I am not surprised when I look at my grocery bill and I'm like, oh God, I messed up. But that's the best part about planning ahead. Just a few minutes. It does not take a lot of time, but just a few minutes can really save you money and can save you from that sticker shock afterwards when you're looking at how much you spent. You're like, oh God, I went over. Like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to get the money to pay for this and balance things out again, right? Because, of course, the last thing you want to do is to get into more credit card debt because you didn't plan ahead. So I am so excited to bring you the recap for mid-year. I can't believe we're already in the middle of the year. And I think it's really important to celebrate your wins, even if they're small. Money wins are money wins, right? And that means that you made a good decision that paid off and you can learn from it and it motivates you to keep going. Because if you don't celebrate the wins, then what'll happen is it just becomes mundane every month. Whether you do something great or you don't learn from a fail, which I'll get to in a minute. I'm still processing. And since you don't celebrate the wins, what happens is it becomes so mundane that you might actually end up having frugal fatigue. And that's a real thing, frugal fatigue. And I have a video on how to avoid that, and I'll link that at the end. So anyway, I want to get started with my money wins, but in case you're not familiar with our financial journey, I had $48,000 of credit card debt that I brought into this marriage. And between my husband and I, we tackled that $48,000 of debt in 2 years. I say that like that because one, it was really exciting. When we made that last payment, it was just a weight lifted off our shoulders. But the second reason why I'm so excited about it is because it was hard. It was hard. It was not easy to do. Anyone that tells you that it's so easy to pay off debt in 1, 2, 3, no, it really wasn't, but it was so worth it. So then we took the following 2 years and we saved up 8 months of our living expenses because we have 3 kids. And so we saved up our living expenses. It took us 2 years and a week to do that. And so the beginning of this year is the first time that we're able to start putting money away for our future, for our retirement, for our kids' future, and for fun sinking funds as well. And I have a video on our sinking funds. And if you're interested in finding out what a sinking fund is and how we use it to make our budget the best budget ever, I'll link it at the end. So anyway, I can't wait to get started with our money wins. I have some notes because I didn't want to forget anything. So I really think it's important to not only, like I said before, budget every month, but also recap every few months so that you can see what you did right and learn from what you did wrong. And also, it's important because that way you don't continue to make a mistake over and over again, not realizing that it's costing you money. And then when it finally catches up with you, you're like, gosh, what could I have done different? Right? So, again, I am so excited to bring you our recap. So, here we go. Our first money win was in the beginning of the year. So we have Roth IRAs. My husband has his and I have mine. And if you're not familiar with a Roth IRA, it's an after-pay contribution retirement account. And so you are able to pay for last year's contribution up through the tax deadline for this year. So for this year, we were able to fully contribute to our Roth IRA for 2020. And depending on your age, there's a maximum contribution each year. For us, it's $6,000 a piece. So it was a big money win to pay off $12,000 of our Roth IRAs in the beginning of this year because we started contributing to it last year. But I was like, gosh, are we going to make it? And we did. And that was a win for us. First time ever. So I'm really excited to later on next year tell you that we were finally able to do it again this year by next April. So again, so excited. The second one is that we have 3 kids. So we have a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old. We've had 529 plans for them for the last few years. We were actually contributing to it while we were saving up for our emergency fund. So for the past 2 years, 2.5 years, we have been putting money aside every paycheck for our older ones' 529 plan. But in the beginning of this year, we decided we need to start funding a 529 plan for our little Emily, who she's only 6 years old, because I want the money to work for us. And anything that we could do to put money aside for her for college, that's just going to be a money win now and in the future, because I never want our kids to look at us and say, like, I wish you had something for us, because that's what happened to me. When I went to go to college and I got accepted to college, my parents had absolutely nothing saved up for us. So that's a personal choice that we've made. I know some people will tell you instead of doing 529s, you can set up Roth IRAs for them. But for us, we want to make sure that when they're going to start college, they have something. And if they decide not to go to college, they can still use the 529 plans for other expenses. So it's there for them, and at least it's something we can do to help so that hopefully, they do not incur student loan debt. Gosh, I think if I say it enough, it'll just go out into the universe and come back and have it be true. So we started a 529 plan for Emily as well. And although our contributions are higher for our older 2, we still want to make sure to put something away from her so that it can actually accrue interest and keep going. So it'll be there for her and have it be a substantial amount since she's so young. The next one was something I am so proud of. I'm like, I can't say it enough. I'm like beaming. So when I brought in the $48,000 of credit card debt into our marriage, my credit score was at the lowest it's ever been. And it was pretty high up through that moment, but it was pretty low at when we got together. So my husband financed this house on his own. My credit score could not be considered, or else the interest rate would have been astronomical if we would have gotten accepted at all. That's how bad it was. But ever since we started paying off our debt and we've maintained 0 credit card debt, my credit score is through the roof. So when we were thinking about refinancing our home, the reason why we were going to do it is because the interest rates are so low. And so we're like, we can save a little bit of money by doing that. So when we started the process, my husband said, when was the last time you checked your credit? And I'm like, my credit's pretty good. So we asked them to run mine as well. And mine is actually 5 points higher than his, and his is excellent. So that was something that I'm just proud of, honestly, going from where I was to where I am now and helping to contribute to paying down debt by refinancing our home. I'm beaming. I really am. I'm so happy about all the money moves we've made to help my credit score be where it is now. So with the refinance, we went from a 30-year mortgage, which we had 22 years left because we've been in this house for 8 years now. And we went from 22 years to, instead of refinancing it back to a 30-year, we actually went the other way and we refinanced it for 15 years. It added about $160 extra to each payment, but we were usually paying more than the minimum payment each month before the refinance. So it saved us a total of, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, $40,000. We saved 7 years off of payments and we dropped our interest rate by almost 2%. So how amazing is that? That one move saved us $40,000, and that is only if we make the minimum payments, which, if you guys know me at all, you know that that is not going to happen. We are going to pay off this house faster than those 15 years. I am hoping that we can pay it off in 10 years. How amazing would that be? 10 years from now to be mortgage debt free, and honestly, completely debt free, because the only debt we have is the mortgage. So that is the goal, and I'm putting it out there. We also started contributing more towards our 401ks. Now, both my husband and I work at the same firm, and we have been contributing 3% to our 401ks. But now that we don't have to make credit card payments or pay our emergency fund because it's fully funded, we have increased that contribution from 3% to 7%. So we're excited. And as we balance things out, we might increase that one a little bit more because, again, our Roth IRAs are going to be fully funded every year. So because of that, with the extra cash that we have, we're going to increase our 401ks. And right now we're at 7%. I think by the end of the year, my goal is to be at 10%. So again, we'll see. And now comes the part of the video that I'm like, okay, control yourself. If you saw my sinking fund video, which again, I'm linking at the end, we have a sinking fund for our auto maintenance because we fully own both vehicles and we intend to drive them down to the ground. So we want to make sure that we can maintain them so that they're with us for a very long time. So I have a certain amount that I am putting towards our auto maintenance sinking fund out of every pay. And since we hadn't touched it, since we were pretty much working from home and we haven't had to fix the cars at all, it had $900 in it as of last week. And I was like, wow, like that's more than we've spent. I think there's only one time that we've gone past 900. And so I was actually thinking about talking to my husband about taking the rest of the contributions for the rest of the year and putting it into another account instead, maybe Disney. And then his car hadn't started for a little while, and it's been a few months. It's been sitting in the driveway. He hasn't been able to drive it. First, it had a flat tire. We put a donut on it, and again, we were going to go get it fixed, but then something happened and it stopped starting. But of course, as life happens, it sits there. We're not driving much because, again, the kids are home now for the summer and my husband and I are working from home. So it was one of those things that we put off and put off and put off. So finally he said, okay, it's time. So we have free towing with our auto insurance. So we got the car towed to our mechanic. Oh my God. Just when you think you've overplanned and you have this extra cash and you can be like, oh my gosh, I have more than enough, right, to cover the expense of the auto maintenance, this happens. My husband calls me. He's like, you sitting down? I'm like, oh God. I'm like, okay. And he says, $2,200. I was like, I had no words. The whole reason why we started the auto maintenance sinking fund was to avoid the feeling that I had during that call. when I was like, oh, I can't believe it's that much. So now what are we going to do, right? I am not the type of person who wants to move money from this account to this account to this account. As I've told you throughout all my videos, I like to keep our finances simple, because by keeping things simple, it's streamlined, it's easy to maintain, and it's something that we don't procrastinate because it's too complicated. By keeping it simple, we're on top of it, and as you can see, we're achieving so many of our financial goals. So I had no choice. I had, like, it's so hard to say these words to me. I'm like, money matters so much to me. I'm so passionate about it, as you could tell. So we had to dip into our emergency fund. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So now, with every paycheck from now until the emergency fund is fully funded, I'm going to stop contributing to our vacation fund. I'm going to stop making extra payments on our mortgage, and I'm going to throw everything that we can into the emergency fund so that we can fully fund it again. It's just a setback. Like, I have to keep telling myself that, like, it's just a setback. And that is why it is so important to have an emergency fund, because life happens. And unfortunately, sometimes you're going to need to dip into it. And that's what it's there for. I have to keep telling that to myself. That's what it's there for. So I am going to throw the kitchen sink at it and make sure that that fund is fully funded in no time. And again, if you guys want to see our emergency fund video, I'll link it at the end. So those are our money wins and unfortunately our money setback. And I am hopeful that with the next recap that I do at the end of the year, I will be able to tell you that not only have we fully funded our Roth IRAs, which will probably need a few months in January, but I'm hopeful, and that we have attacked our mortgage even more, and that our emergency fund is fully funded once again. So I hope you liked this video and found it helpful, and I hope you see how important it is to do these kinds of recaps as you go along, so that you can see what you've done wrong and celebrate what you've done right. It's such an amazing feeling when you look and you realize you went from living paycheck to paycheck barely to now talking about all of these wins. So if you guys are having any problems with your financing, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you're in debt, if you've never looked at your numbers before, if you're looking to work with me as a money coach, I am offering my clients a 12-week one-on-one money coaching program right now. So if you're interested, I'm going to leave the link to my calendar down below, and feel free to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me. I'd love to see how I can help. And I hope you liked this video and found it helpful. If you did, please click the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and to click on that bell. And I'll see you in my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.